Your episode, you guys were the first ones to develop an alliance with each other.
Okay, then. Fucking fine. I guess we'll play your game because I don't want my friends to go home.
And that's what they're looking for when they hire people for Ink Master.
Characters.
Yeah, the character. Yeah, that was kind of the character they chose for me. And we were just like, you know what, man, it's time to go. Because this is ruining the tattoo experience for me. You're not supposed to go to work and be worried about things that you really shouldn't worry about.
Hey everybody, we're here with Nikki Simpson. We're going to talk about her new shop, life, Ink Masters. Stay tuned to listen up. I want to take a second to talk about Allegory ink. I've been using Allegory black ink for some time now, and it's been the best black ink I've ever used. It's really consistent, really black, and I haven't used anything else since. They also have Ultra Black if you need that extra punch. Use the code EDEN20 for 20% off your order.
So you've done podcasts before?
Yeah, I've done podcasts. I've done a few with like John Mesa, the Honest Tattooer podcast.
Yeah.
I think I had a little one when I was like 14.
You had a podcast?
Fun. Yeah, it was cool.
On what?
Being 14 and stupid. I don't even know what we were talking about. Probably music and Slipknot and dumb things.
Wow.
It was called Blathering Chuds.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It shows you how cool you are at 14, who likes Slipknot.
Not cool.
I was like, what was I into at 14? Hawthorne Heights.
That's pretty.
We shopped at the same Hot Topic. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we need to dig that up.
I tried and it's gone.
Did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I also have some stuff from middle school. I actually found some Facebook videos I made. I thought they were funny at the time. Didn't age well, but I showed Deanna some of them. And then also, when I was in middle school, I had to do a music video for my Spanish class that I recorded, and it's to the tune of some Kesha song, and it's like just me singing in my webcam at 14, and I guess the teacher, I don't know if she liked it or if she was trying to embarrass me, but she apparently played it for the other Spanish classes without my permission, which was super embarrassing.
Can you just repeat a little bit of it for everyone?
No.
Yes.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
If I ever found it, I don't know if I would destroy it or post it.
Go on YouTube and type in Colton
I
Kesha.
tried. I can't find it. Yeah, it's
Someone will.
lost in the ether. I'm sure it's out there
Someone will.
somewhere. Yeah. Have y'all ever tried to find your old MySpace pages?
Yeah, it's gone, and I'm so upset about it. So I was like, all right, well, about the pictures, I tried to log into PhotoBucket. Gone. It's like your memories are all gone.
I still have my photo bucket.
Really? You know it?
Yeah. Do you remember your URL for MySpace?
Yeah, it was some like nod to The Exorcist, so it was like Pazuzu something. Dude, I'm telling you, I was a weird fucking metal kid back then. The pictures are pretty rough.
It sounds like you're the person that I was aspiring to be, but I was more of the poser.
No, I just thought every day was like I was dressing up for Underworld.
So do you have any pictures from that time, or they're all gone?
I have a couple,
Yeah.
but like that photo bucket has some gold in there, dude. I gotta find a way to bust that thing open. Like.
And so you live in New York now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you grew up too?
No, I grew up in Arizona for the most part, and Texas. So
Really?
Yeah, so my family was military, so we lived in a lot of places, but I grew up in Arizona, and we'd bounced around, so I lived in Oklahoma and East Texas. I've lived in California, Alaska, Delaware. I think that's about it.
Wow, people live in Delaware.
And now New York. Yeah, people live in Delaware, I guess. I don't know.
And how long have you been in New York?
I've been in New York about 8 years now, I think. But it's my favorite place of all
And you're
time.
in like, are you in the city, like Manhattan?
No, hell no. No, dude. Manhattan gives me anxiety. It's cool to like go and, get dinners or see shows and stuff like that. But I live in Queens, and that's just more like of a kind of a more neighborhood feel, just a way more chill vibe. The shop is in Brooklyn. And I always describe Brooklyn is like every day is Sunday, you know? Like Brooklyn, there's always something to do, but it's lower key.
Oh,
You're not getting ran over by cabs and, you know,
I love that.
freaky people. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this where you opened up your new shop too?
Yeah, so we had a shop in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. We moved to Bushwick, Brooklyn, which is just pretty much Ridgewood where I live. So it's the Brooklyn Queens border. It's a totally different type of neighborhood. So Williamsburg is like the trendy hipster area,
Yeah.
and we're now in like where people live, where actual New Yorkers live, our new neighborhood, and it's been way, way better. I don't know if it's because, you know, catering to the actual people that live there instead of tourists. I'm not sure.
Oh, you mean like business-wise?
Yeah, business-wise, it's so much better. I also just love, like, it feels more authentic over there, and it's just my hood. I know it, and that's where I hang out.
Yeah.
Very rarely will I go to Manhattan unless, like, a friend is in town or something. So my New York experience is very different from what people imagine it being.
Okay, so is it still like the same studio, or is it like a whole new name, new business
Same
model?
name, but just different because the old shop just had so many problems, and it was like kind of downstairs a bit, so we flooded several times.
Damn, that
And
sucks.
you know, like imagine anything in here flooding, like how much things you have to replace and how long that
Yeah.
takes, and it just became like a liability. I think it was just where it was placed. It was kind of like a half basement, so we're like, nah, not doing this anymore. Plus, just I think we opened that shop right before COVID, so we closed immediately. There were so many things in the shop that just it didn't feel right, and I feel like a lot of the things that even happened, opening and then closing and then flooding, like it can just be such like a downer on what's supposed to be a really positive thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this fucking place is cursed. What is going on? Like, issue after issue. And we were just like, you know what, man, it's time to go. Because this is ruining the tattoo experience for me.
Yeah.
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to go to work and be worried about things that you really shouldn't worry about.
Right.
You know, like from crazy neighbors that think that we're running a, I don't know, brothel. I don't know what they think they're doing. They just didn't want a tattoo shop in their building. So it was time to go. And ever since we moved, it has been a 180. And not only, you know, the shop being physically better, but I just kind of had a new lease on, kind of like a new lease on life. It felt like I'm going to do this different. I'm going to do this better. I'm going to take an opportunity to learn from everybody that I admire as yourselves in this industry and make this change as positive as possible and a place that I can bring that knowledge to my artists and to invite that in as well without the fear of, you know, like flooding. That'd be tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, we changed a lot of our business model to now like being able to take in walk-ins for some of the artists. The other shop didn't have walk-ins whatsoever. I'm trying to do, you know, group activities with them where I'm just actually acting like with them. I'm giving them instruction. I'm walking them through things, helping them way more than I ever did before, and just kind of like building camaraderie.
Yeah.
Because the other studio, it was like, I just imagined it being like this sick little private studio, just come in, do your tattoos and leave. And that wasn't making anyone more excited. And the kind of artists that brings in are not the most motivated kind of artists, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
So I even changed my way of who I'm hiring. It's cool if you were to get a really amazing artist and stuff and they just want to come in and do their work and leave and not say much. Like, that's cool, whatever. But I want to focus on working with my younger, newer artists because they have the drive, they have the motivation, they don't have an ego yet.
Yeah.
and they're just sponges for knowledge. And I love being around it because, you know, being around jaded artists, it can kind of be like, oh, I bet you're fun at parties. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And it's hard to feel inspired and be better too when you're around that. It really
Yeah.
hurts your own creativity.
I also found that in teaching people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning things I didn't even know
Oh my God, yeah.
because they're like, hey, can you explain how you, why you shade this part of a face like this? And I never thought about why I did it, but when I started vocalizing it, I was like, oh, I think I just learned something.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've said that a million times. And I used to teach music, and I, had that same experience where somebody's like, well, they can either ask you why, or if you want to explain it well, like you also should explain like the why behind it. And especially you might think about those things when you first start tattooing, but like how long have you been tattooing?
13 years, I think now.
A long time. So by the time you circle back to that and you have to think of like, wait, why do it like this? Or like, how do I actually do this? It kind of makes you reframe that thinking a little bit. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a way that more experienced artists can get better and have that motivation to like keep being better. I feel like Deanna, that's changed her career, is like getting into the teaching space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like I've learned so much too just by teaching.
Yeah, they can even say like, how do you do your hair? And I'm like, well, I can teach you a way of doing it. I'm not giving you my recipe. But when you start explaining why things flow a certain way, why things should sit a certain way, how you can get it to look this way, then you're starting to go into like, well, if you think about it, it's a Fibonacci spiral, and then this goes like this. And you're like, oh, okay, I've gotten way off course. But it's been my favorite thing is just seeing the teaching happening, and then seeing that artist do something they weren't capable of before, or what they thought they weren't capable of. And now they're like, shit, I want to try something new. I want to try something way different. And we have like a newer black and gray guy who tried his hand at color in one tattoo. And he's like, I'm going to start colored penciling. I'm going to start painting. I'm going to do all these color tattoos. I'm like, yes, go, dude. Like, that's
Oh, yeah?
it.
Hell yeah.
It's so amazing to watch. Like, spending a lot of time around really established people is great, you know. There's a lot to learn from, but there's a lot to learn from people that can teach you about yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just also because I feel like this is kind of I don't know if it's a controversial subject or not, but you were talking about like how much you learn from teaching. You were talking about too, like there's some things you might keep to yourself and teach others how like they should be doing it themselves, like in their own special way. Have you ever come across like trying to teach or trying to do seminars to teach people how to tattoo, but then they cross that boundary and maybe copy something that you do, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's definitely happened. I know what parts of my work that they do want to be able to replicate. So it's okay if it's not a direct bite.
Right.
As long as you're drawing it yourself and you're beginning to understand how to draw it yourself,
Yeah.
that's fine. If you love it, find a way to do it. But here's a problem. If you're just going to copy the way someone directly does something, you should be doing something to your work that changes it somehow where it looks like you did it.
Right.
And it's fine to want to replicate or mimic or whatever a lot of styles, because that's what we all do. We cherry pick from different styles of tattooing that we like. I don't even know what my style is technically, because it's a combination of things that I just love and learn to pick up.
You had an amazing quote at Explore, though. I'll never forget it, where you're like, you want to make sure that you're not able to tell who you replicated from in your work, that you've been inspired by so many people that you can't tell which one.
Yeah, like I can even say, just even learning about my line work, that's from learning from a traditional artist. Learning line weight, that's from hanging out with biomech artists. Black and gray smooth stuff, black and gray Chicano West Coast artists. Any kind of like neo-traditional kind of stuff, that's hanging out with those kind of artists. And it's a good thing, and I believe it's something people should strive for, especially in this time where we're seeing the same thing over and over and over again. You're going to have a very hard time standing out and being remembered. And I feel like it is the hardest thing to do, but finding one little thing that makes someone look at your tattoo and go, oh, that's a Nikki tattoo, that's a Deanna tattoo, like that, there's no question.
Yeah.
And it's just finding those things that you do love, combining it with something that inspired you, putting your own stank on it. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to tattoo in a way where it's just immediately known.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be another, screen swipe in the algorithm that looks like everything else. That's not what I came into tattooing to do. I wanted to stand out.
Yeah, and I think that's the same with every art style, music, writing, anything. And I think it's the hardest thing to do is achieve your own style, and you don't have to necessarily rush to get it right away, but that should be the ultimate goal.
I would think. It's not
Something
for a
that-
lot of people, and some of those styles that they're doing where it's the same thing over and over again. If it makes them happy and it makes them money, keep going.
Yeah,
I don't know how the longevity of that can be if people aren't seeking you out just that style, because styles come and go.
right,
Some are relevant and some just kind of fade off.
right.
So
And you've had a distinct style for forever. I mean, since I met you, and I know how I met you was because I did an Ink Angels episode with you
That's right.
guys, which is it's so crazy how long ago that was. Now it feels like
you
it was
posted
yesterday.
it, and I was like 7
Yeah.
or 8 years
Yeah.
7 years ago?
7 or 8, yeah, because it was
Which is
what,
insane.
2016? Yeah.
How did you go from being on Ink Master and then having your own spin-off?
Well, I guess it was just the reaction from the viewers. They really loved, for the first time, without it intentionally happen, women choosing to, not tear each other down.
And your episode, you guys were the first ones to develop an alliance with each other. That's
Well, it was funny because that's how Ink Master is, like alliance. It's these fun little words. It really wasn't even about that. It was because there were a lot more girls that season, and then you have the girls' bedroom, and then you have the guys' bedroom. And in the mornings, you're getting up and you're getting dressed and doing your hair every day, doing your makeup, and that, when you do that with a girlfriend, that's a ritual. You're chatting, and then, okay, getting ready for the day to go through something terrible. Who are you going to bed with at night? Your girls.
Yeah.
So you start developing a bond. And also I was sharing a room with artists that I all admired too. So there was no way I was going to try and get on fucking Kelly Doty's bad side because I was like obsessed with her. And then just finding out how great of a person she is and that Ryan is. And it really didn't ever cross our minds to make it an intentional thing. I think the producers saw that and they're like, so you guys are friends, right? And we're like, well, yeah. So tell us about this alliance against the boys. Like, what?
Like,
Say what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't really find out about this because they would go to the boys and say, well, looks like there's a girl alliance. How are you going to take them out? Okay, then. Fucking fine. I guess we'll play your game because I don't want my friends to go home.
yeah.
So that's kind of how it happened. It was just accidentally becoming closer friends than they thought we would be.
Yeah.
And then it just, in some bizarre way, turned into, it's the battle of the sexes or something.
Do you feel like the alliance actually worked at times?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because me and Kelly were on one team, and Gia and Ryan were on another team, so we never really got to tattoo against each other. All of us directly. But I don't know if it worked for or against us because we all made it to the end pretty far, I guess. But like, if you rattle some boys up, they start to panic. Like,
yeah, I think there was some pretty infamous.
Gian was on this season, right?
Yeah, Gian was on our season.
There's some pretty
he's a
infamous
dirty little
conversations.
player on that game.
No, I know.
Dude.
Yeah,
I know.
So we talked about it on the episode that he was on, and it's kind of funny the way he talks about it. Like the contestants kind of have a lot of sway of like who goes home and stuff. Like it's not just the judges. So he was talking about like when Deanna was at the bottom and everybody's just like piling on. Like he said, he's like, we knew that we had to get her out of there. So they have a lot of influence.
He's just more vocal about it.
Right.
Yeah, some of them do it. Gian's just the first to be like, hey, sorry, bro. Like, I also love that he would, every time we'd be sitting like waiting to see who's going to go home and like who's going to get eliminated, Gian would always be like, I don't know, it might be me. And it was never him. He was never in the bottom. I don't know.
He said, I don't know, bro.
I don't know, bro. And I was like, I think we fucking know. It's not you, Gian. You can relax. But yes, I did meet you in Angels. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to apologize to you because I jumped down your throat. Like the first critique we had about like putting gray wash in like traditional. And it was such a like out of place kind of like thing that I had to do because we had just started season 1 and when I did Ink Master, I'm definitely not the person that I am every day as to who I was on the show. One, I was 24 years old when I started that show. My fucking frontal lobe wasn't even developed. You know what I mean? And I was just kind of like a pissed off, angry little kid, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have, the wherewithal or the foresight to really handle myself in those kind of situations. And I do think production saw that if they wanted a spicy character or someone that will bite back a little bit, that they can easily do that with Nikki, because they would put me in situations where they knew if someone's going to say something, I'm either going to spontaneously combust or I'm going to say something that's going to like rattle the room a little bit. Yeah. And that kind of behavior, I never wanted it to be, because in everyday life, you don't fight with people. Let's be real. If we fought with people every single day, it would drive you crazy. And what are you supposed to do on Ink Master? Fight with people every single day. Yeah. And they knew exactly what to say to work me up, and they started motivating it with me. They'd be like, well, come on, Nikki, you know what to say, like, yada, yada, yada. I would get like, almost like, oh, good job, you killed it there, just because I was arguing or doing something a certain way. So they started to almost develop their version of my personality, because it's TV. There's technically a personality for every different person for who they are on TV.
And that's what they're looking for when they hire people for Ink Master.
Characters.
Yeah, the character. Yeah, that was kind of the character they chose for me. And when that happens, like, oh, why is it that I'm now put in this room with this guy that clearly doesn't like me, and now the producer is asking me a very inflammatory question? What do I do now? And I've seen people go home probably because their tattoo was like, but they were giving the show nothing, saying nothing, nothing to give personality-wise. They're not producing the story at all. Yeah. I kind of had this weird association that if I act a certain way, I will be rewarded. And it did. It did technically reward me. Yeah. They would...
Yeah, it worked. You went far and you got a spin-off show, too.
Yeah, I guess. But
for
rewarded in the way
worse,
was... Rewarded was like, oh, we know you're going to kill it if you just... Why don't you say this to this guy? Like, things like that. And they would kind of put this sense of pride on me that I could be the person that could pick up the speed and things, or like or the combativeness of a situation. And in that kind of scenario, you just want things to be easier.
Yeah.
And, you know, there'd be times where we're waiting to just be done with the day and get on our phone to call our families or something. And if we're not giving them the camera enough of our house reality, we don't have our phones.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would go up to a dude and be like, hey, Sketchy, I'm going to say that you fucking blew it. You suck. You can call me a bitch. You can say anything. Like, okay, yeah, that way we won't really fight. We can stop,
Give them what
and now
they
we can
want.
go get on our phones.
Yeah.
And so half of the arguments, we just did it so they could get off of our backs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to really fight.
Are you a master at using a 3-round liner? Or do small needle groupings and details scare the shit out of you? Either way, we've got a great seminar for you. We'll be having Dmitry Troshin for a hands-on seminar here at Eden, October 13th and 14th. Dmitry pioneered the 3-round liner only movement, and he's a very frequent mentor and teacher. This seminar is going to be 2 full days. First day, he'll explain how he does his tattoo design and stencil process. He'll go over some principles of academic drawing that can directly apply to your tattoo techniques. He'll also go over how he takes great pictures and edits them quickly. Finally, you'll warm up for day 2 by doing some practice exercises on fake skin. The second day, Dmitry will critique some of your tattoos and discuss how you can improve them moving forward. You'll then watch Dmitry tattoo on fake skin while you tattoo the same design. He'll walk around to each of you and help guide you through the process step by step. At the end of the day, you'll also get some homework so you can continue practicing and working on your skills. Now, Bishop Rotary is also going to be providing the same materials Dmitry uses every single day. So you'll get the chance to practice with the exact same equipment Dmitry uses. At the end of the seminar, you'll also have the opportunity to purchase the machine and needles at a discount. Whether you're looking to perfect your 3-round liner technique or just looking for another skill set to add to your tool belt with a fresh approach, this seminar is for you. It's going to be an incredible investment to your tattoo career. Now, we do limit the spots in these seminars so each person has as much one-on-one time with Dmitry as possible. Spots are first come, first served, so don't wait. Again, it's going to be Sunday and Monday, October 13th and 14th here at Eden in Dallas. Visit EdenBodyArtStudios.com/edu to get all the information and book your ticket. Solid.
Yeah. That's how, like, we would be, like, starving. We just want to eat dinner, and, like, we had to give them something.
Yep.
And I was terrible at playing the show, but that people would do exactly what you were saying, so we can eat dinner.
Yeah, and I do feel like that kind of being agreeable kind of was at my expense, you know, because when you're there, you don't really realize what it's going to look like afterwards. You're just in it. You have this fishbowl mentality. And for one thing, a strong woman that speaks her mind, a lot of people don't like. A strong woman that speaks her mind to a man standing up for herself can be a bitch.
Yeah.
So seeing that kind of feedback from the general public when I'm such a young woman at the time, it really, really, really fucked with me, really damaged me. And I began kind of falling back into that when we started Angels, because that's what they knew me for. That's what they wanted me to do. They motivated me to do that. And I remember when I said that to you, and then I saw your face, and I saw you were such a sweet, sweet angel, and you weren't somebody that was like coming at me. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do this again.
Oh my God.
And then after that, I just stopped being that way, like on TV, because it was your face. I was like, dude, I did not need to do that. We are not in Ink Master right now. The time to cut this view of who they wanted me to be. It ends now. And I never apologized to you for that, because like that was messed up. That wasn't cool.
God. I
know.
appreciate that. I mean, I've had the utmost respect to you, and I definitely the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you didn't have to say anything, but I appreciate it. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I know that they do that, and it's part of giving them a show. If
Right.
people wanted to watch tattooers get along, go to a convention.
Right.
But for TV,
Go to real life.
yeah, but for TV, you have to, because that's what even people are like, oh, I'm just here to see a tattoos. They're entertained.
Right. And it's not like the executive producer wanted this. The main head of the show wanted it. it's the little other minions coming in and like stirring the pot, right? And no one's forcing me to speak. I chose a lot of what I did, but I just don't think I did Ink Master when I was, one, old enough, experienced enough, and with the self-preservation of a grown-ass woman that I have now, I think it would have been a lot different, but in the end, I can't say I'd change anything because it gave me angels, and that was like the funnest time ever. And it's really important that if you are in the spotlight or do anything like that, that you should continue doing something. Staying relevant is a really important thing if you're trying to grow your brand or continue this career at the rate that you were before. So I think it's great that like you guys have been doing all that you're doing here. I took a break. TV fucked me up mentally, bro. Like really, really, really bad.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to talk about it.
No,
if you
it's
don't want
fine.
to. Yeah.
I think I always say that doing that show was the best thing it could have been for my career and the worst thing for my self-image and self-confidence. Because I wasn't used to people just berating my looks, berating my personality hundreds and hundreds of times a day. At one point, there was this one comment, this shitty comment that this guy made about the way I look, and people, it was on World Star, it was on this, and people would comment that. I still get comments that say that. I had to give my best friend my phone. I was like, I can't, you handle my Instagram. And it really, really messed with me. Again, I was a young, I was 23 before that started, 24 when I was filming. And also being like amongst beautiful women as well, and being that person that the world chooses to be like horrible looking. And I know I'm not horrible looking, but that is so cruel, and it's a lot to take in. People say, just ignore it, just ignore it. You can't ignore it when it's happening that many times a day to you. Like, so what does a young person do? They go and they get Botox, they try to do this, like, and then you get shit on for doing that. There's nothing a woman can do to get out of that kind of ridicule. It's all it is just growing up, loving yourself, learning to do it. So while it was very beneficial, and whenever I did Angels, like beneficial for my career, my journey after that was just kind of to take a break out of the spotlight and, I don't know, like fucking learn to love myself again and choose the rooms I want to be in from now on. So that's what I mean when I say if I would have done a lot better if I had done it now. Oh, actually, no. I could not have done it. I tattoo way too fucking long now. I can't do anything in 6 hours. I could do a better 6-hour tattoo, but it'd be real tiny.
They were giving us 5 hours this last time.
5?
Last year when I did it again, too.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it was crazy. But, I mean, I've talked to you, online for years, and you just seem like the most down-to-earth, kindest person ever, and whatever you think your personality is like on TV and for anyone watching is not like, it's not you in real life. I mean, but on TV though, you really are just like, I thought you were badass because you stuck up for yourself.
Well, I do stand up for myself, obviously, but
again, like people, especially men, a lot of the times.
But how often do I really have to stand up for myself? How often do combative situations in life actually happen? Really, or they shouldn't be all that common. Yeah. I did want to come off as unfuckwithable. Yeah. But the older I get, that's more not of a thing that I have to exude unless the situation brings up. I do want to focus on just being a little softer and just... I'm trying to get to my soft girl era, but they keep trying me, man. I don't know.
People on the internet are cruel.
It's not even like the internet anymore, but it's just crazy because I started that show 8 years ago, and people change so much from 24 to, well, 33. I'm not 33 yet, 32. Jesus, I almost aged myself. That's a long time, and a lot of life can happen. Like at that time when I did the show, I was living on some couch on a beach in California, and then now I'm married with a shop. You know, it's totally different.
Well, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, it's got to be such a trip to do that so young, when obviously you're a way different person now. Not only that, but it's being filmed for the whole world to see, and it's like in fabricated whether it's, you know, scripted or not, like it's a situation, like you said, where you're fighting every day. Like you wouldn't do that in real life. So that's got to be a trip to just have that documented. Like I wouldn't want my behavior at 24 documented. And I'm sure like all of us like feel the same thing, to like have this thing be like, yeah, this is what happened when you were in this fucked up situation.
So I guess I am glad I can't find my MySpace, because there's enough from the past that just needs to leave it back there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Like if I did so well in being so unskilled at the time, you know, compared to now, if I did so well being as emotionally immature as I was then, and it still somehow is, you know, bringing people to my work, fine, I'll fucking take it. But Angels itself was my chance to actually like change that narrative of me.
Yeah.
I think it's because the main producer got to know us girls a lot better and wanted us to be ourselves, and people liked that we were friends, and they wanted to see that more, because I think at that time it's important to see women supporting women.
Yeah.
Because like the biggest cliche is like catfight, like, oh, she doesn't like her, she's gonna get bitchy with her. I don't know, that line work looked like shit. Like, come on, that's what everyone can expect.
Yeah.
So
they say that about, I have people talking about our shop, and we're like, yeah, it's mostly women, and they're like, you know, it's like, oh, they feel like it's going to be catty or something. Oh, is there a lot of drama? Like, no, I've been growing up in shops my whole life, and this is the least amount of drama I've been around.
I feel like it's like the opposite. Like there's
There's
no like
drama,
egos,
really.
and we have like 3-4 males on staff. Like it's
Everybody else
majority.
is women. Yeah. And it's been great.
I worked with Megan Massacre for like 4 or 5 years, and that shop was 99% women. And I noticed, this is the most drama-free environment. What the hell? I expected something different. And what I noticed was, we all know what it's like to have a little bit less opportunities being a woman, that we do have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Megan's view was, if she's on this wave of success, she wants to be the change and bring the other women onto that wave. So we all pushed each other. We all like supported each other. We did events together. We hung out all the time, and she just created a very soft environment that like made us feel comfortable as women. Not soft environment, like we're still making dick and fart jokes and like just being ourselves. But it was the most drama-free place I had been, and I knew like I need to work more with women. Yeah. Not saying the boys are drama queens, but they come to the girl first whenever they have drama. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
If there's ever guys like arguing, they don't talk to each other. They like bitch to the shop girl. Like,
Yes.
oh boy. Like, well, let's talk through this. I don't know. It's always silly.
It's so true. I didn't think about that till now.
Well, I worked at Guitar Center. It was my job before apprenticing. All boys. And I was like the shop girl at the front. And he'd be like, can you fucking believe Marty stole my sale? I was trying to sell that PRS. You fucking prick. I'm like, why don't you tell him? Go tell him. Nah, he's a fucking bitch anyways. And then started walking into like street shops and working in, amongst a bunch of dudes. And while it's not that common to have, combative like dudes in a shop, it does happen, but they handle it much different. if there's a girl, they're
Absolutely.
going to talk to her about it before the other one.
Absolutely. They don't love confrontation, and if they do confront, I feel like I think women have been practicing communication a bit longer.
Yeah, we do communicate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's our way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so as you said, like being in an environment full of women, I think it's just a mutual understanding that we all have that this type of energy is beneficial to be around. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I don't feel like in environments like that there's that jealousy type, because when you work around a bunch of girls, you become a girl's girl. You want to support your girls, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Especially
and-
being a shop owner now too.
Yeah, and I apprenticed a girl, and I'm apprenticing another girl, and I didn't intentionally do it. I actually wanted to apprentice a guy because I wanted to kind of like change the way they can usually be brought up in this industry, and maybe give them a different sense of respect for women. But the girls just had better artistic ability. I have 2 other guys in the shop that are great, and I have my husband that works in there with me. So it's an even number, but yeah, I wanted to, if I'm going to train anybody and it's going to be a woman, I just want to be the mentor that can help them get out of that toxic cycle that you constantly hear, like women being abused in tattoo shops or women being treated a certain way. Thankfully, I never had an abusive experience with any mentor before.
Oh, that's great.
But
That's good.
I hear about it, and I fucking believe them. Sure.
Yeah.
So if I can create a better environment for anybody in this industry coming out, I want to be able to provide that for them, just like you do.
Yeah. So important.
Yeah.
Right now, are you hiring for your shop right now? Do you have?
Yeah, we're hiring.
What are you looking for? Like, what are some traits that you look for if someone were to apply?
So I really enjoy seeing someone with versatility, especially because we get a fair amount of walk-ins, and I'm not used to that. I think there's something really great about being a versatile artist, where someone can come into the shop and want, some like black and gray praying hands, or if they want, I don't know, a fine line little set of mountains or a color portrait.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the most incredible, world-changing, mind-blowing artist. Just do clean work. That is, I know it sounds like a low standard, but it's really not.
There's not a lot of people out there that I feel like really care about that. It's nice to find someone who does clean work and who's hardworking.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You really don't.
Yeah.
You can try, but if you're skipping the necessities, or like the most important parts, like a clean, readable tattoo, dude, you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
I feel like one thing that we look for is, and you kind of mentioned it before, somebody who's just like hungry to
Yes.
grow. But I feel like that's kind of difficult sometimes, because you can ask questions like that in the interview. You can ask, hey, do you want to learn? How do you take criticism? And they'll tell you whatever, but it's very different. Like when somebody gets in there, like, are they actually asking Deanna questions every day? Are they actually taking her feedback? Like, do they actually want to do new stuff? And I think that's kind of one of those things that's just kind of tough, like to get a bead on that before they like come into your space,
Oh, I've had that too. Yeah. They say they want to learn, they come in, they don't ask anything. Okay.
And then they wonder
'Cause
why
I'm not gonna,
nothing's happening.
hey, you, come over here, watch while I do this thing. I think it'll be really important. I'm not doing that. If you want to come in and watch me tattoo, I'll explain what's going on. But I'm not going to do more work for you. I'm not going to work harder for someone else than they will for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And I know the other thing with Deanna is obviously she's a very sweet lady. And so she's like very careful. She doesn't ever want to like step on somebody's toes and like give them like unsolicited advice. So that can be tough too, because sometimes people can say like, just tell me if you see something wrong.
No.
But like,
No.
yeah, but that's a really good point too. It's like, why You know, I'm giving you this knowledge. Why do I have to give it to you instead of you asking for it?
So you don't like to tell them what they should do unless they ask? Oh, dude, I'll go up there and I'll be like, hey, this really needs more black right here, and I see you're about to highlight that with white. Don't do it. Like, because I want to try and avoid a shit show if I can.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just presenting it in a delicate way that doesn't scare the client. Right?
that's what I was going to ask, because how do you do that in front of the client?
Well, it's a compliment sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, dude, this thing looks great. You know what would look really rad? If you do this and then do something like that, then it's going to look so sick. It's already looking great, dude. But I think you should try this. It'll look really good. Or sometimes I'll be like, hey, can I borrow you for a minute? And then tell them in the other room, because it has happened, like, hey, I really think you need to fix this part right here. And I didn't want to say that in front of them because you don't want the client to panic.
Totally.
And also, sometimes people don't receive advice well.
Yeah.
They either don't understand what you mean, or they get bummed out, or they just get back into it and then they get confused. And some of my worst work, it just so happens to be on TV, is when I didn't understand what was asked of me and I didn't trust myself. So in the end, it's like, hey, if you understand and get what I'm trying to tell you right now, do it. But if you don't, trust your gut and do your best.
Yeah.
I want to, make it a more comfortable environment in the shop where we can try to push each other and do better. Even I'll ask them, like, hey, what do you think about this little thing right here? Do you think I should do that? I want them to know that I'm not this overlord, right? I just want that conversation to be, because sometimes they've pointed out things to me that I'm like, oh, duh. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. You're right. I like that kind of conversation and environment. And I think sometimes it's kind of cool. Like whenever I'm tattooing and I'm teaching something to some of the artists, the clients are like, I didn't know that just doing fading a cheek is so complex. Like,
Yeah.
or I had no idea all of this stuff is so complex. I just thought you just were talented. I was like, no, dude, we had to learn.
Yeah.
We had to screw up. We had to learn. Some people went to art school. I've just been living on a prayer, like trying to make the next tattoo a little bit better than the next.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool that they see it, and I'm like, yeah, I can do more than just draw.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah, I also think it's beneficial for the client to have that knowledge, not only because they appreciate it more, but like we've been doing a lot more educational stuff when we put out educational reels and stuff like that. And obviously I want clients to be interested, so like the reel performs well, but sometimes we'll get comments and people are like, yeah, I'm not a tattoo artist, but this was like super interesting. And like that's good knowledge for them to have too when picking an artist and
Yeah.
what to look for in portfolios and everything like that.
I mean, I don't think you have to just be catering to artists on your feed for other people to enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I watch fucking hoof cleaning videos on TikTok.
Isn't that
Me
crazy?
too.
I don't want to get on
Yeah.
a horse. I'm afraid of them.
It's just interesting.
I watch
you know?
baking stuff and like I can't bake. I don't want to bake.
It looks like you make great salsa, though.
I can cook. Oh yeah. If I can, I'll send you some. I'll send you some hot sauce. I got some good stuff. Yeah, so like I think it's just interesting for people to watch. It doesn't matter if they're going to, pick up and be a tattooer or not. It's just interesting, and if it can find your target audience, then you found your target audience.
Yeah. And I think they also walk away from that with a deeper appreciation for what people do, because we've talked about it on the past couple episodes. Sometimes people don't really understand how fucking hard that being a tattoo artist is. So if they can just get a little bit more
Insight.
Well, it shows
insight
your
and
expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're showing them these very tiny moments that are so important in a tattoo that people wouldn't notice. And I think that is going to instill confidence in your client that you're the person that they want to go to. If they can say something like, I think you posted something like, what would you do if your artist slammed green all over a face?
Yeah.
And I knew what you were doing, but I was like, seeing how many people in the comments were like, oh, dang, I thought she almost messed that up. And I thought that was so funny because you do see what that effect gives.
Yeah. I thought it was funny too that a lot of people thought they knew exactly what I was doing. And they're like, oh, she's just color correcting. Duh. I'm like, no, there's green all over the face.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny for me making that video because, and I think this is something that tattoo artists can kind of keep in mind when they're creating that kind of content, is there's so many things that y'all do on a daily basis that it's just automatic. You don't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
But like to a client, it might look crazier. You might have to explain it. So like when I saw her like packing that blue over the face, I've seen that a million times before, but and it looks crazy, but it's never occurred to me to be like, oh, that looks pretty crazy. I should get a shot of that, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like when you freehand something on someone. I go, don't worry, just trust me. And I'm tattooing, and I go, I fucking hope I trust myself. This is pretty crazy looking. Like, if I ever do, like, space and universe stuff, there's about, like, 5 dots, 2 swishes.
That's it.
And they go, oh, this is all right.
They could tell their friends they freestyled it.
And I go, trust me, I know what it's going to look like. I actually don't know what it's going to look like, but it turns into something. It's just kind of like a... Yeah.
And that's the importance of knowing how to draw what you tattoo.
Yeah. Did you see my, like, eye twitch? That's such a statement that I, like, say all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it is so important to just know how to draw. And so many people are taking huge leaps out of the first step in the book that kind of, like, drives me insane a little bit.
Because references don't give you all the information, and you can always tell if someone's tattooing something that they can't draw. They'll miss subtleties, and you may not always know what looks right, but you always know when something looks wrong, especially with faces and things like that. I think that's just so important.
Yeah. Like, if I'm ever doing something like, you know, swishy filigree or whatever, I'm not looking at, you know, architectural reference on a wall that was lit a certain way, because I've just done it so many times. I know how the light is going to hit a curved edge, how it's going to hit a beveled corner, how it's going to be shadowed here. And that's just from drawing. And your back's going to be against a wall in a lot of places if you only rely on photo reference. And when you draw, that's kind of like a little magical way to find your own style. If you don't know how to find a style, dude, the way you draw something is going to be totally different than mine. Even if it's like a newer artist, they have a style. It's just about refining it and figuring it out, and it's going to show up. They're just not getting the chance to find it. Yeah. It's really hard to find a style in certain styles. Like realism, it's very tough.
So tough.
Yeah. And I think you can't just do a perfectly good realism face anymore. Like, that's not enough these days.
Right.
People are doing so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Deanna's talked about it before, but she said, you know, like in fine art, like realism isn't like the bar, because if you practice enough, like you can replicate a photo pretty good.
Realism is what you learn first in art, and then as you grow to more and more levels, that's when you develop your certain style.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in tattooing, I feel like as tattooing was sort of young, getting into realism, that was a thing that blew everybody's mind. But we're gaining levels now, and it's not just like a sick portrait that works anymore. There's a few great ones out there, and that's awesome, but that's not how you stand out these days.
Yeah, there's already one Nico.
Yeah.
There's all of the Eastern European color realism portrait artists that are insanely better than most of us. It's really, really hard to find a style in a style where it's supposed to just look like one thing.
Yeah.
But try anyways. That's the only thing I can say about that. Like, if you're going to choose to do a style where it's a very anonymous seeming world, you got to try. Put your stank on it. That's what I always say to my artists is like, yes, do this, but find your stank. Don't do my leaf. Do a different one. Just a little bit of yours.
Yeah.
It's just the only way, you know, you can ever separate yourself. And a lot of it is just from drawing.
The vast majority of tattoo artists need to be better at something that's critical to each and every one of them. And that's, of course, the business side of tattooing. I'm Colton James, and I'm stoked to announce that I'm hosting a tattoo business webinar at the end of October. Since I've been in the tattoo industry, I've worked with all different kinds of artists, from apprentices to world-famous tattooers. As a tattoo artist, one thing that they all have in common is that they all essentially own their own business. Even if they don't own a studio, they have a product and a service that they need to refine and sell. This online format is going to let you tap in wherever you're located. It's essentially going to be a crash course in tattoo business. I'm going to be covering a lot of important topics, like client correspondence, the booking process and setting your rates, how to build your portfolio, social media and other marketing tools, how to keep your finances organized, how to delegate non-tattooing related tasks, and way, way more. Everything I'm going to be covering is going to be dedicated to saving you time, making more money, spending more time tattooing, and making the time that you do spend tattooing more enjoyable. Now, every single one of us in this industry, myself included, has a lot of room to grow in all of these areas. So whether you're just starting in your tattoo career or you own a studio and you're crushing all of your goals, this seminar is going to be for you. Now, read the caption for more info.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious because you have a very unique style. I feel like you have work that you look at that and you're like, okay, that's a Nikki Simpson tattoo.
Absolutely.
So what would you kind of describe your style as, and then how did you come to start doing what you do?
Someone said it was illustrative realism, so I said, okay.
And that
Right?
that was the title of your presentation at Explorer, right?
Yeah. I just went with that, and it's funny because I'll get invited to these, you know, neo-traditional shows, and I'm always thinking like, why am I here? Because is it because I use lines? Is that it? Because I have liner needles in my bag? Yeah. I guess, and it's cool. I guess I always did lady faces because like I was that creepy kid in class, just drawing like naked girls. That's just what I was doing. Just drawing like a bunch of boobies and mermaids and girls. And I just love drawing portraits.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was drawing like, you know, Disney princesses and then eventually naked Disney princesses. So I do have that instilled in me, the line work, the whimsical feel of it. And then I started getting into doing portraits. And when I was apprenticing as well, just to make money, I would do my mom's coworkers' kids' portraits for like $20 a pop. So I could, you know, feed myself and
Drawing.
just drawing portraits. And that I feel like was a huge skill, because if you can get a face right, then, well, let me say this differently. If you got a face in any way wrong, it's no longer that person.
Yeah.
So now you're getting a picture of little Johnny and the lady's like, oh, that's Johnny. Like, because you probably messed it up. So that made me want to get a little bit better at it. So I was doing realistic portraits, but then I started tattooing, and my mentor taught me just traditional. Like, he wanted me to be a very traditional artist. So nothing below a 7 round liner, and black shading. Everything has to be like solid and bold.
And
so
was this in California?
This was in Arizona.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like really, really glad he taught me that way, because he taught me the fundamentals and the bones of everything. And I got to put my stank on it because I was like, well, I kind of want to like experiment with faces a little bit. So now I knew that I was told I have to make sure there's enough like contrast and bold, light on dark, line work. But then I would say, well, how do I put line work in a realistic face? He goes, I don't know, figure it out for yourself. And I did.
You're like,
You
"Bet."
definitely
I guess
did.
I did.
Yeah.
So I definitely like value all of those things that was kind of drilled into my head from the traditional eras, and found my way to put my own like style in there, because it's, again, just a combination of all the things that I love and respect in so many different styles. Like, I worked around a lot of biomech artists in California, so I learned a lot about the flow of the body and layering, line weight, and even just, again, like, being here and doing other guest spots, learning from artists that you typically would not think you could learn from.
Yeah.
Well, I think that traditional artist knows how to color pack a lot better than this other person, right? So if I need to get better at it, then I'm going to watch him.
Yes.
You are not above any style. No
Yes.
style is above any style. If you can do a perfectly clean, beautiful tattoo, that is all that matters. And that can be any kind of tattoo. I can find something to learn. If, like, you know how people are doing like these super fine line little delicate flowers and mountain ranges and stuff. Dude, there's nowhere to hide in that either.
Right.
Just like in traditional, there's nowhere to hide. So it is
true.
challenging.
Yeah.
I have like one of my apprentices right now. She's beautiful, black and gray faces and stuff. I was like, yeah, I can like you can jerk yourself off and do that all day, or I'm gonna make you draw me a basic girl flash sheet full of angel numbers, full of, hearts and all that goofy stuff. And she was struggling, dude. It was funny to both of us. She's like, this doesn't make sense. Why is this so hard?
There's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. And we can hide so much in what we do.
Yeah.
So
It's when people are like, when I'm tattooing and they're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of moving. I'm like, you can actually move a little bit. I'm not doing line work really.
Yeah.
Like it is that part is a little easier for me.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like all those smaller tattoos, those are really fucking hard.
yeah. I'm not gonna knock on all styles. Maybe one or two later, but yeah, there's something to learn from everybody. And like, though we don't do like the same kind of tattooing, I feel like we can share an aesthetic at least. And like, that's why I was so excited to come here, because I haven't seen people in front of me tattoo like you do. And I just want to find ways that I can try and grow, because I don't want to get to this point where, okay, I'm growing, and then I plateaued. Because that plateau can last the rest of your life, and I've seen it happen to a lot of artists.
Yeah.
And that plateau eventually goes down because they stop caring.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
You know?
And we talked about it in Kevin's episode, but
Yeah.
he was saying, if you're the best person in the room, find ways to put yourself in different scenarios where you have more to learn. And not that necessarily like people are going to be better than you, but they might have a different approach. And I think that's super important too when you own your own studio, as you do, and then you're teaching everybody else. It's like you are the best person in that room. So I think it's super important. I think it's admirable words that you're like finding different places just to learn, take little nuggets and everything like that.
And even just doing like seminars, you've done far more than me, which I'm definitely going to be asking you a lot of questions about. But the first one I did, it was just with a small group of artists, and it was like a several day thing. And what I had them do was I gave them little notebooks, and I said, pencil and paper notebooks, take notes today. And then at the end of the day, I want your notebooks. And it was because I wanted to see exactly what I was saying they were actually taking in.
Wow.
Interesting.
Did you tell them at the beginning of the day that you were going to take them?
Yeah, I told them. So that maybe they were like writing more notes, but
Yeah.
some of them just didn't. Some of them like wrote things that I did not think that they would care to write down, but they would like circle it. Like there was that one thing I said, I guess, that clicked.
Yeah.
But at the end of that night, I was going through the notebooks, and some of them were drawing the things that I was saying, and some of them were really, really thorough. You could see people's ways of ingesting information like in real time. But it was just such a beautiful like moment sitting down and reading and realizing that just that day, I gave someone information that they're going to literally remember forever, and it's going to change their career. And that felt like I finally made a positive change, and that I was shifting into being less focused on just my own success and kind of sharing it. And I learned that was the thing that I learned from Megan Masker working with her. She said, I want others to be on this wave of success, because that's how we change the industry. That's how we do it. It's not just one person. And it was just a really beautiful thing to read. I got emotional. I was like, oh my God, this, because I remember my first seminar when someone said that one thing, I'm like, what? That's it? I had no idea. That makes so much sense. Oh my God. And then my work just transformed.
Yeah.
And it's just a nice feeling knowing that you made a small ripple in this artist's journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's got to be so rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing their art change in real time, also seeing it click, it's so cool. I love seeing it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I definitely want to do more teaching and seminars and stuff like that someday, because that was the thing that actually fed my soul, and seeing you're kind of looking at yourself, right? It's a cathartic thing.
Totally.
You're seeing these hungry artists just, what's the secret? And you're like, I don't know the secret, but you'll find that out for yourself, but this is how I do this, right?
Yeah.
So I still have their notebooks. I not all of them. Some of them actually wanted to keep them. The ones that didn't want to keep it, I kept, and I was like, this is so rad.
That's neat.
So,
that's a really unique exercise. I've
know,
never
I
heard of
wanna
a
do
teacher
that
doing
now.
that. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it taught me what to cut from my seminar and what to actually focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Did you have anything that you saw that they wrote down that you're like, I don't know if I said that the best, or I could have worded that differently?
What's that?
Did you see anything that they wrote down that you're like, that you learned from, that you're like, oh, maybe I could have said that a different way, or?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was points that it was my first seminar ever, so they knew I was nervous and stuff. But
in your second seminar, by the way, that was the Explorer conference,
yeah,
right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, which went awesome.
That was
Thank
only
you.
your second?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
Oh, I was dissociating. That wasn't me. That was Patricia. Dude, that one was
blacked out.
crazy. No,
That was
my
amazing,
my
though.
throat got dry.
You got
I had
sick, huh?
panic.
Yeah.
I got sick that night. Probably gave everyone their COVID. My bad. Yeah. That one was pretty wild because I had an 8-hour seminar now condensed into 2 hours. How do you do that? Because I was giving my everything, and then I had to just wrap it up in a nice, neat package on a Dr. Phil stage, and that's way intimidating, right?
On a Dr. Phil stage. That's the
Dude, they
best way to
gave you a
describe
clicker.
it.
If I have a clicker, that's intense.
And then you see all the pictures in the back room of all the people that presented there,
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yep. And I was talking about boobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool, I belong here. But yeah, no, that was pretty wild. And I did like that after Explorer, they did these portfolio reviews and stuff. That's probably how I did become a super spreader of COVID or something. That was probably the night. But yeah,
Just,
that was my
breathing
second.
heavily on people when you're looking
Yeah.
at their eye.
How beautiful. Speaking only in H's. This is just hilarious. Yeah. I don't know, man. But it was a great thing, and it was really, really inspiring, and I want to do more seminars. But I like the seminars where you can actually get one-on-one, really give them COVID in their face. And
Yeah, definitely
being
a
able to
higher percentage of the people that get COVID. Maybe less people get COVID, but 100% of those students,
they're getting
all
it,
getting
dude.
it.
Just particulates right in their face. I just feel like I liked the seminar. I loved doing both, but the seminar where I could actually sit down and guide them, explain things in detail, that's where you're actually learning, because like sitting in a lecture and you're not able to raise your hand, you're like, ugh, wait, what now I don't know if I can continue following, right?
Yeah,
So-
I do like both formats, and the reason that we do the symposiums is because it is a little bit more accessible. Like, it's a lower price point, a lot more people can come. So, but yeah, I think both are valuable, and I feel like when students learn the most from you is when you do like the private
The
seminars, like the
one-on-ones.
one-on-one, when you spend like all day with them. Have you started doing those? Have you done those before? Like
I
one-on-one
mean, that's
seminars?
essentially what you do with
Yeah.
your apprentices.
Yeah. I think the symposium type stuff is brilliant because you get the most important things from so many artists. And, you know, what I would do if I was sitting there, I would just take the notes. If I had a question, then I would just find them, just, hey, real quick. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a thing that easily can be done.
Yeah, and we do let them ask questions during the presentations and stuff
Oh,
like
word.
that. So
I think that's so great that you guys are doing that, just because you're taking not only like amazing artists, but amazing artists that do massively different styles. And it's kind of lame when I see people walk out because they're seeing an artist present a style that's not like theirs at all. I'm like, dude, you're going to miss it. Like,
yeah.
Come
So
on.
So it was a trip. One of my favorite things about the symposium, especially this time, is we do try to get, people of different styles. And at the end of the first day, Mike Chambers gave his. He's been tattooing,
Forever.
over 30 years, and his presentation was like solid tattooing. So he was literally showing like videos of, here's how I pull lines, here's how I pack this color in there. And then the second day, Edit Paints was giving a presentation on how she does microrealism. And Mike is like asking questions during her
think he asked
presentation.
the most questions
Yeah, which I thought
during
was
her
so
seminar.
fucking and it was like purely from like a curious stance, like no judgment, nothing like that. And I was like, that's fucking cool. Like, and that kind of like, that's something that I'll remember forever, because I was like, this is why it's beneficial to have like just different people who do different styles and have different approaches,
I mean, Mike, he's a legend in itself, a humble legend, but I'm sure he gets more out of doing, seminars than just feeling good about teaching people. I've sat right directly next to him when we were at Explorer, we're pretty much next to him, and I could see him like, like
Yeah.
he's listening, and that just goes to show, when you have a true respect for all the different types of artists in this industry, it's going to take you further. When you can put yourself in a room with artists like that are different than you, it's going to take you really far. I also like when there's people giving seminars on just the business side, but I soon want to do something where it's not just the business side of things, but how to act, how to be in this industry. Because there's some personality types that are not going to go far, and then there's some that will. And sometimes you can just kind of smell it in them. You can tell.
Yeah.
Like, this person's got it. This person, you got to work on this. It's almost like they just needed that guidance. They needed someone to tell them, like, this is what you should be doing. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing this.
What are some key points? of
Yeah, I was
that?
going to ask if you had any like examples.
Well,
Don't give away your seminar.
no, I don't even think it would be a seminar, but like it should just be a more openly talked about thing. Advice on how to do better in this industry and how to act. Like, I mean, the first thing I told my first apprentice, I was like, don't get knocked up anytime soon. That's the first thing. Because then you're going to have to wait a while for you to actually get the most out of this.
Yeah.
But no, for real, it's putting yourselves in rooms with people better than you. If you're shy, step out of that shell. Just pretend you're not shy for a minute. Go to the events. Go to the conventions.
And then go to the bar after to network.
Yes. Just things like that, like even everyday networking skills. There's so many different ways that you can build a network beyond social media. Also, like just how to be cool, man. Just be an enjoyable person that people want to be around in this industry. Be a positive person. Be something that makes someone's day feel better. Be extra friendly. Be, as far as women, you got to learn how to create boundaries. It's a little bit different with us.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of skills that will take you further, and it's just putting yourself out there. As my friend Jill says, be a little delusional and just take those chances and don't expect anything to be given to you. It's not going to be given to you. You put yourselves in the rooms you choose to be in, and you can leave those rooms just as quickly. So I think there's no one right way of doing it, but I do know what's worked for me, and it's been just reaching out and creating that community and putting myself out there and hustling. I think the art of the hustle is a very lost art.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely. I think because things are a little bit more accessible these days.
Right.
And I know for me too, like I love being able to give everything that I've worked hard for to everybody, but I do think like sometimes people don't realize like all these connections that I've worked hard to like make over the years, especially as an introvert, going to the bars after conventions and staying up late and making these connections so I can be able to be like, look, we have all these guest artists now.
Yep.
All these other artists can be friends with them. And it's like, it's so much more accessible these days. But
Yeah.
people don't realize how hard it was to make those connections too.
Especially if you have anxiety issues.
Yes.
I mean, let's be real. Like, I am kind of like a little bit of a social butterfly, but there's some people that give me anxiety that
Yeah.
I see and I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to him. He's scary.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it anyways. But being in those rooms with those people are the ones that if you can create that bond there, now you can, dude, hey, I want to come and guest spot. And be a little delusional. Reach out to people that you think would not want to pay you the time of day. They probably do.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to pay you the time of day, stay the fuck away from that artist. You
Yeah.
don't want to be
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
an asshole like that. But just taking the chance and seizing opportunities when they happen. I'm sure there's been moments in your life where you're like, how did I get here? This is so wild, so bizarre. And it's probably because you said yes to something, right? Like, instead of just holding all this doubt and
Yeah.
creating reasons why you shouldn't in your head, just take a chance, because if you're not happy with your life right now, maybe it's time to try something different.
And the worst thing someone can say is no.
Yeah.
And I live by that. Take those chances, ask those questions, reach out for a guest spot. Just do it. Worst case scenario, they say no.
Yeah, and so what? I guess you were rejected just the way you thought you were in your head anyway, so you already prepared yourself. You're fine.
Right.
Yeah, you're in the same spot. Either you don't ask, nothing happens, or you ask and they say no, and then you're in the same spot anyway. So you might as well.
At least you learned that you don't want to be around that person.
Yeah, if they're an asshole, then you're like, okay, maybe this isn't somebody that I should look up to
Yes,
anymore.
dodged a bullet. Yeah, it's even been something as simple as being at a convention and I noticed somebody needed an armrest. Hey, dude, I heard you were looking for, here you go. And it's like this insane artist I fucking really look up to. He's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Hey, I'll give it back to you at the end of the day. We're going to this place after. We're going to get dinner. Do you want to hang out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And then that turned into friendship, and then that turned into guest spots. And
Yeah.
it's simple, little things like that. Just step out of your comfort zone. Say yes to even bizarre things, weird things, things that you don't even think that you deserve. Just do it.
Yeah.
Nothing gets done unless you just take a chance, because you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to develop as a person.
Yeah.
You're going to get better social skills. You're going to learn something from every person if you ask the right questions. So not only say yes, but ask all the questions, because, no one's entitled to tell you, you're not entitled to everyone's, knowledge, but taking the chance is going to get you a lot further than not.
Yeah. 1,000,000%.
Amazing words to live by.
Love it. Well, we're about out of time. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we go?
This was amazing, by
Yeah,
the
we
way.
covered a lot. Your studio,
This
Ink
is
Master, being a good person, developing.
No, other than I have a brand new tattoo studio in Brooklyn. It's called Everblack Tattoo. And we also do laser tattoo removal called Gotham Tattoo Removal, which my husband does.
Nice.
And we are looking for an extra artist right now. So check us out.
Amazing.
Sweet.
Amazing.
Well, I guess real quick, we could have started with this, but do you want to talk about what you're down here for?
Oh, yeah. Why am I here?
Why are you here?
I wanted to do so many things. I was like, I want to do a seminar. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was like, oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
So right now, Deanna and I are doing a collab. So I'm really excited.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, not only doing this is awesome, but like, I'm really stoked because I haven't done a collab in so long. And the last person I did a collab with was TJ Poole, who's totally different from your style as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be super fun and awesome. And I really enjoy this new thing about collabs with artists that are so different and have, I feel like we have a
Totally.
similar fan base, but even people that don't know my work, seeing it, I think we can create something that is going to be really, really cool. And also, like, I just want to be around more powerful women. I just feel better, like, empowered. And I just like being around that energy and, like, just boss energy. I'm just so proud of you.
Oh my God.
So I'm really
so
happy to be
excited
here.
you're
Thank you for having me,
here.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming, and I'm so excited to do this with you.
I'm nervous,
Me too.
but I said yes.
Me too.
Yeah, it's an honor. Yeah, she's been looking up to you for a long time. I just recently met you last year, but love your presentation, love just the energy that you put out. So yeah, we're super stoked to have you. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
All right, I guess that's about it. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Until next time.
A couple of years ago, a doctor told me that if I didn't figure out how to stand up while tattooing, I was gonna need surgery. That's why we adapted this uplift desk. I stand and tattoo, which now my pain has gone down significantly. I get so many questions on what my tattoo bed is, but really it's not even actually a bed. I think as tattooers, we don't really think of the longevity of our careers or taking care of our bodies. You're tattooing for 8 hours or longer sometimes, so it's just really important to invest in tools that'll extend your career. If you'd like to see the equipment you use to make this,
Check out the link in the description.